You're listening to the Tech Alliance podcast, or the TAP for short. My name is Marina.
And I'm Andrei. Welcome to our very first special project on the TAP.
This season is going to be very different from the previous ones.
It is going to have only 5 episodes with a single goal and a single broad topic. I'm super excited about this season.
Come on, tell everyone.
Well, dear listeners and friends of the TAP, today we are launching How to Build a Partnership Team, a special project to help companies new to the concept of partner development understand the benefits of partner management and the ins and outs of standing up a partnerships team.
Yes, we're going to cover growing the partnership team, budgeting it, fine-tuning partner operations, and evaluating success. But do you know what the most important thing about launching a partnership team is?
What is it?
Understanding if your company really needs a partnership team. And if yes, why? And what are the benefits? And where to find perfect partnership managers? And where to find budget?
So, dear Tappers, today we are opening the series with Do You Need a Partnerships Team? And with us today and for the rest of this season is the one and only Eleanor Thompson, the founder and principal consultant of BranchWorks.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. You're an expert in building, activating, and optimizing high-performing partner ecosystems.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So, yes, I am the founder of BranchWorks. We're a specialist partnerships consultancy working predominantly with companies in the data and AI space to help them generate more revenue with partners.
Amazing. The links will be in the description in all the usual places. So I highly encourage everybody who's interested in the topic of our series to go and check out BranchWorks. This is the place to start. One of the places to start anyway. Eleanor, let's start with this. You help other companies build, create, and stand up partner ecosystems. What if a company wants to step into the world of ecosystems but doesn't have any competence in partner management? Where should it start?
Okay, so there's a few places they can start. Working with us is one of them. We often work with some of our clients prior to them having any partnerships people in place. But there's a few things that I always recommend people doing even before that. You know, it's looking at if they have any partners in their ecosystem already. You know, are their clients working with any partners today? We often find that, you know, when we go to a lot of our clients is that they might have a partner or two signed, but they potentially don't know where to start. And I always recommend that they go and speak to their customers. Go and ask your customers, are they working with any partners today? Do they have anyone that they trust and they like to work with? And then that kind of gives companies a good place to start, even before they need to think about building a partner program or a partner team or anything like that.
I love it. And then once again, what I particularly love is for listeners of the TAP that have been with us for a while, you know that we have themes. And certainly customer centricity is definitely a theme and a favorite theme of ours. So having Eleanor bring it up straight up in the first answer, the very first question of the very first episode of this new series is amazing. Yes. Customers can also be useful in surprising ways like this. So that's awesome. Start by asking your customers. Why not? Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But actually, I think there are sometimes such situations can happen that the company wants to build a partnership team. However, maybe the first question they have to ask is that why do they want to build a partnership team at all? So what is the value of partnerships for them?
Oh, so many value. Yeah, there's a ton of value to adding partnerships to your organization. If you have a direct sales motion already that's working and you have product market fit, it's really important, I think, before you start going out with partners is having product market fit and having a few people internally that are taking your product to market already. Once you've got to that point, like partners can really help you expand your reach. They can help you expand into new regions. They can help you, expand out into new customer bases. They can help you increase your revenue. They can help increase your close rate. They can help you increase your, speed to close when it comes to closing deals. So there's tons of ways that partners can help you, improve as a company and generate more revenue. There are a few stats out there that I'll say now. They were from 2023, but the 2023 State of the Partner Ecosystem report produced by HubSpot and Partnership Leaders said that partner influence deals have a 34% higher ACV than non-influence deals, and that deals close 46% faster when a partner is involved.
That sounds very compelling, and everybody should absolutely check out if you are thinking about creating a partnerships function, or even if you already have one, and you haven't seen the report that Eleanor referenced, you must absolutely check it out. We'll make sure that the link to download it is somewhere in the description. It's not very long. I'm looking at it right now. Okay, it is a bit long. It's 90 pages, but the key data is readily available, and there's some useful charts and graphs, and it tells you a very compelling story about some of the, basically, at the risk of being a bit blasé, but it's our podcast, so we can do it. The more successful a company is, the more likely it is to have a partnerships team and a big partnerships presence. So you go figure what is the causation and correlation here. Somehow I feel that they go together.
Absolutely.
However, are there any companies that maybe don't need a partnership team? Asking just in case.
I'd say there are companies that are potentially too early for a partnerships team. If you don't have product market fit, or you don't have any salespeople yet, you don't have any signed customers, I always recommend, and this is my numbers rather than, industry-wide, fact-based studies. I typically say to my customers, when you have 3 salespeople and at least 15 paying customers, then it's probably a good time to start thinking about partnerships. Before that, I'd say probably a little bit too early. And that's where I say, go and speak to your customers, find out who they're partnering with, see if you can speak to a couple of them. You don't need a partnerships person until you're down that road.
I think that heuristic, sort of that number, is super helpful, right? But it also reminded me of something, Eleanor, that we often talk, and we try to kind of cover all bases here, but sometimes we default to talking about channel partnerships and sales partnerships when we talk about them here. We should also remember that there's other types of partnerships. There's partnerships of a technological nature that actually enable you to create that product market fit. So I would say it also depends. I'm talking about the value that partnerships bring. It's not only enhancing your revenue, and we talked about the speed of closing the deals and the rate of closing them and so on. Partnerships can actually be at the heart of the product market fit that you reference, depending on what it is that you're trying to do. And in any case, even if you're not like a joint venture or collaboration of some kind, I think having an ecosystem first mindset, even before having a partnerships team, definitely helps, because as you create your product and you determine its fit, if you already have in mind, how am I going to work with partners? Potentially, I don't know, 5 years down the line, 25 years down the line, that doesn't matter. If at some point I'm going to be working with partners on this product, how will this product be great for them? Why will it be great for them? And if you bake that in from the beginning, you'll hopefully help create a successful partnerships function and have that function really accelerate your growth.
Absolutely. It would be super helpful if everyone started their company with partnerships in mind, especially when it comes to, I think, launching new functionalities and wanting to go into new markets. Like when you think about launching new functionalities, if a company doesn't have the resource, the capacity, the money to do it themselves, that's where they may partner with, another technology player, for example, who can build an integration, and then they can go to market together with a really strong offering. I've seen companies do that before, and it makes them a lot more compelling, and they can go to market quicker with that. And then when it comes to going to market with more channel partners, absolutely, if you can have that in mind from the beginning, it makes the change management piece so much easier further down the line. You're not going to have to rewire all of the kind of sales motions and the sales team that you've already got to go from our 100% direct model to then working with partners, because that's an uplift. That is a change management piece. That's something that I do with my clients all the time. And if they can start with partnerships in mind when building the company, it makes that piece so much easier.
Well, you heard it, right? Sort of, in order not to be laying down the track as you're driving the train, try to think ahead a little bit. It might help sometimes. But talking about trains, let's switch gears just a little bit and ask you this question. What partnership management even is? What is it a science? Is it an art? Why are there no, I looked and I couldn't find it. Why are there no master's programs in partnership management? Like, who are we? What is this thing?
I think it's because it varies so widely from company to company as to what it looks like. And I think a lot of people are trying to build some structures into, partner management, best practices, even just consistent language across the industry as to what it might mean will vary from company to company. There are absolutely things that I'd say are quite foundational. I'd say in an early stage company, the responsibilities of a partner manager, like if you think about end to end, it could be anything from, finding the best types of partners that they can work with, going to source them and acquiring those partners and bringing them on board to the company. You're then probably responsible for, setting expectations with those partners and, setting up communication, aligning on company goals, building a joint value proposition together, training these partners, onboarding them. And then your day-to-day management will be around like relationship building, performance monitoring, supporting them to generate business, passing business back to them. And it just goes on and on. And I think it's probably, I'd go as far to say the most cross-functional role within any company, because these people are working with every single department. They're working with the sales teams, the marketing teams, the legal, the finance, every single team internally. These partnership managers are expected to work with, and then they're expected to do that with their partners too. So I think that's probably why you can't find any master's programs on it or anything like that, because it's so complex and so cross-functional.
There's no better place to plug again that sometimes you should just maybe even talk to professionals who will help you set it up. And, you are listening to one right now as well. So make use of that. But I was also going to say, a little bit, first of all, I testify absolutely. And I do everything you say, but also sounds tremendously stressful. Why would anybody want to become a partner manager?
Because I hear you. And what's funny is that I barely know any different. I have done partnerships for my entire career. I go to conferences sometimes and people hear what we do and they think, why? That sounds crazy. Or I hear people have come from different roles into partnerships and they're like, this is so complex. For me, I love the opportunity to have a really diverse experience within my working day. Even now as a consultant, I still get to work on so many different parts. I get to work with many different people across every business and then support people to work with their partners. When I was in role as a full-time partner manager, the ability to, again, work with everyone across the company and then define and refine and build different strategies for different partners was super exciting. And it was, even though it can be complex, it means that the diversity of activities throughout your day is just incredible.
I should say it is so cool to see how inspired you are while talking on the topic.
Thank you. I love it. That's why I created a business in it. I would say it's tough to really find joy in a business in something that you aren't like super passionate about. And I am really passionate about it. So, it's possible, but I just love it. And I am grateful that I get to do this.
Yes. We have talked about when to start building a partnership team. And the other question that comes to mind is that what is first, building a partnership team or bringing partners aboard?
It's a good question. Typically, I'd say that you can bring a few partners on board before bringing your partnerships team on. A lot of companies will bring my team in first to actually build out, a strategy and a partner program before they even bring in a full-time team. You could have like a split role internally as well. And often when companies start working with a few partners, those partners might be managed by, one of the senior staff or someone in the sales team. Typically what I see a lot of companies doing is getting someone that's already within the company to support management of a few partners. And you can do that for a little while. It's when those partners actually start becoming a real focus for you, when you want partner generated revenue to be, a real opportunity for you to ramp and grow the company. And when you have, a partner program or partner education or something like that, that requires actual management, that's when you can start bringing a team in. Prior to actually having those things, you could probably have someone within the company to have a bit of a split role and support with the management of that.
Yeah, and I would also say, given what we just discussed about where you even find partner managers, there are more and more examples, still few enough people like you, Eleanor, who maybe have all their professional career, dedicated their entire professional career to partnerships. But the vast majority of partner managers that I know, including myself, have started out doing something else and discovered partnership as a process. So I think what you're suggesting there is an excellent opportunity to discover hidden talent within your own company. Because if you find that those senior salespeople actually quite good at everything that you've described, at managing relationships, at sourcing and maintaining and expanding, they become natural candidates to become the core of the future team.
Absolutely. And I think it's really worth finding out what they're great at as well as you then expand the team. Because while I talked about the role of a partner manager earlier, that it can be end to end. It can be from finding, sourcing, onboarding, activating, managing, growing partners, you can do, an end-to-end role like that. Once a company gets to a certain size, they may start splitting those roles out into into a fuller team. So they may then have a partner acquisition manager, a partner operations, partner marketing, partner program. Like, you could start to split out the different elements of that role into separate teams as the company grows. So figuring out, if that person's maybe come from a sales background, they may end up wanting to stay in partner acquisition or partner management, for example. If they've come from a project management or a more operational background, they may want to go into partner ops or partner programs, which I know we'll talk about within this series. So I think it's very, very common to see people come from different roles into the partnerships team. And knowing and acknowledging what they're great at and where their skill set really, really lies as that team grows, it's going to be super important. And then you know where to bring in additional support from companies like ours if you ever need to as well.
Talking about things that we will cover in this series, one background that I must say I rarely encounter in my day-to-day engagements is finance and accounting. But the question of how to get the money and the budget for the partnerships team is very acute. And I know we're going to dive into it in much more detail later on, but let's maybe touch on it a little bit. Probably look at it two ways. One of them is that if you are the leader at a company and you're thinking about, well, how am I going to understand the value that the partnership team brings so I can justify investing in it? And another one is that if you're not maybe the owner or the founder or the main decision maker in the company, who do you go to? Like, who do you ask for money to create this thing and how?
Yeah, so in order to get your first partnerships hire will probably be the most difficult to get budget for, especially if there are investors involved. There are many investors and VCs out there that have said that actually they're more likely to invest in companies with partner-led growth and partner teams because it de-risks them as an organization. It means that they've not only got their sales team going to market, but they've also got all of these other companies supporting them to go to market as well. So can actually reduce a lot of risk for the company and allow them to expand. And if you can touch on those points when trying to go for that budget, that's super important as well. If you do have some anecdotal numbers, either from industry reports, so there's tons of industry reports out there, like the one I mentioned, that will talk about the value of partnerships and how partnerships can, increase your deal, your close rate, your time to close, your average deal size, all of those. If you can start to position those statistics to whoever is responsible for giving that budget, that's helpful. And then if you have any anecdotal numbers within the company already, again, super helpful. So if you have got one of those maybe split roles of someone that is managing a few partners already, you should be able to take some statistics and data from that as to what those partners have been able to do so far without full-time hire. Imagine what they could do with full-time hire. So I'd say there's a lot to bring together for your first partnerships hire. And then from there, providing you're tracking the right data, which a lot of companies do struggle with, but there's a lot of data points you can put in to track with your partner team. And that should help you justify further additions to the team.
Okay, so let's imagine that we decided that we need a partnership team and it's the best timing for us to build one. And then we managed to receive some money to build the team. So we are ready to hire candidates. So the question is that how many people do we need and which position to hire first?
Yes, and this will change depending on who you speak to. I will say, and it depends on the size of your company at this point as well as to when you're making your first hire. I would say if a company starts their partnerships journey, in the relatively early stages, once they've got those, 3 salespeople, for example, between 3 to 5 salespeople, at that point, I'd say a partner manager with a few years experience is going to be wonderful for you. If they've got least sales experience, they need to have had revenue targets before, I would say. That typically makes a good first hire. That's what I recommend to my clients a lot. If you have someone like us that can come in and support the standardization of partner program and strategy and all of those things. If you don't have anyone in the company that has had any experience with partnerships before and you aren't bringing in an expert or a consultancy or anything like that, you may need someone a little bit more senior, someone that does have experience of, building these teams from scratch before, building partner programs from scratch before. And they'll be a little bit more of an expensive hire, but that's fine because they're typically worth their weight when it comes to stuff like that. So it depends on who you're bringing, like what kind of expertise you are bringing on at the same time and who you already have within your company. You don't want someone super junior as your first hire, but I also don't recommend a VP of Alliances being your first hire for a partnerships team either. I think that's too senior and too expensive for what they're going to need to do at that point.
Spot on. So we've covered this, and we've touched on this quite a bit throughout because it was inevitable while talking about what partnership management is and what's important, and especially now when talking about whom to hire first. But let's maybe, by way of emphasizing, summarize the, let's say, 3 key skills or traits that your first hire needs to have. What would you say those should be?
Relationship building skills, for sure. You're going to need to build relationships both internally and with partners. You're going to be able to build them and then maintain them. 2 different skill sets. Not everyone can do both, I think. So people that have the ability to do that, super important. Someone that's comfortable with change, can navigate, ambiguity and complex environments are going to be very important too. And then it's difficult to say a third one. I could list about 10. I'd say a level of strategic mindset. Like, can they, create strategies with their partners? Can they think outside the box? Can they, create as well as just do?
Sounds like a superhero. I just wonder how much time can it take to find a proper person to fill in the position. But of course, it depends on the position.
I still tend to think of our field as fairly young, right? Probably the pool of candidates will grow over time. But I think Eleanor touched on this brilliantly before, by building out a partnerships team or maybe by letting some of your other teams initiate some of the partnership work in the first place, your hire might actually be an internal transfer. You might actually uncover some of that talent inside. People open up in unexpected and positive ways when given the opportunity to take on this kind of responsibility. And I think everything you mentioned, not everybody wants that, but the kind of things that you mentioned about strategic thinking and relationship building, a lot of people have that in them. Their day-to-day role might not be best suited to apply those skills. So given that opportunity, they might actually pleasantly surprise you.
Yeah, so I typically work with a lot of clients who do have internal transfers as their first hire, and often they come from a sales background, which is amazing because they're super motivated, they're already used to working to a target, they want to close and drive revenue, and those are great attributes to have already naturally. And then we come in and apply, structure and process in all of the foundational things that they actually need in order to grow. It's far easier to do it that way. So I think, hiring internally can be a great way to get your first hire. They already understand the business and they've typically already worked with the few partners that you do have starting out as well.
So, it was the first episode of our special project, and there are 4 more episodes ahead. The next one will be about the budgeting, so I guess it will be one of the most interesting episodes that we have in the special season. And the 3rd episode will be about partner operations, where we are going to cover such topics as why it is so important for partnership teams to have partner operations and why do so few teams have partner ops investment and so on. Yes, and the last episode will devote it to the topic how to evaluate success.
Be sure to subscribe, like, and share this episode, especially if you know anyone who is going to or would benefit from building a partnerships team. And you can find the links in the description.
This concludes the episode of the special project by the Tech Alliance podcast, featuring Andre, Marina, and Eleanor Thompson.
Thank you very much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. If anyone wants to reach out, you can find me on LinkedIn, Eleanor Thompson, or you can head to our website, BranchWorks.io.
See you in the next episode about budgeting the partnership team. Catch you next time on the tap.